Hey everybody, this is Valor Swanson. This is our first episode of Customer Experience in the Cloud. So this is going to be a series of discussions that I'll be having really kind of about anything related to customer contact centers, customer experience, and agent experience. And so I only have 10 minutes. This is my first time doing this, so I'm a little nervous, a little greasy in the face here. But we're going to talk about some cool things. And one thing that I will be providing you guys is really a perspective of what does it mean to a contact center director or CTO or CIO that's purchasing things for the contact center, or having to put processes together, or having to deal with people issues related to contact center. So we're going to talk about all kinds of different things, and I'll give you a little bit of a background on what we'll be talking to here in the future. So I'm actually based in London right now. I've been in contact centers for 30 years. Yes, it started off at AT&T in Atlanta, Georgia, 1989. I was on the phones doing outbound for 3 years. At that time, it was a tape recorder and somebody smoking a cigarette next to me saying, "Valor, you've got to ask for the sale." So it was an interesting time. So basically from that, I migrated my way up from that role through various roles, from team leader to sales support to as director of training and quality at a BPO. And then that culminated in being a vice president of customer care and operations for Comcast, where I ran 23 contact centers and had a substantial P&L. Then came over to London to do some consulting about 13 years ago. So I've been now on the vendor side and doing all things consulting as it relates to operational integration. Now I could literally sit here and do the whole origin story, but we'll have to make a movie about that and put that out later. But if you want to get details on me, you can look me up on LinkedIn if you want to look at all the little crazy things that I've been doing in the past 30 years. So today, we're going to be talking about don't be afraid of the cloud. And this is sponsored by LifeSize. That's who I work for, LifeSize. I've been with them now three months. And I'm really excited to be with this organization now, culminating from in my career to this in this role here as a global market strategist as it relates to all things contact centers and CX and EX. And so the first thing we want to talk about is really just the reality of what's happening now, and the fact that a lot of folks, a whole lot of folks, have not moved to the cloud. In fact, Gartner has it pegged at 90% of all the global organizations out there right now are still using on-prem. Who would have thunk? I mean, 90%. And another little factoid, it was back in February of this last year, because of pre-COVID, so to speak. If you put a room of call center directors together and they were all drinking champagne and eating caviar and all the other rich things that these guys do, only 95% of those guys in there, only 5% of those guys in there actually, or women in there, would have actually known how to run a remote contact center based in the cloud. So the other 95% of the room back in February would have been like, I don't know what you're talking about. So then we all got kind of kicked in the butt, and there has been a call to action because of this thing that we're going through globally for everybody to move over into a situation where people are remote working, work from home, and all the other wonderful things that come from that. So back to the reality here of on-prem. So what I'm talking about right now, and the title again is "Don't Be Afraid of the Cloud," is that we've got to get moving. And I say that from a standpoint of, again, putting myself in the shoes back one day when I was running contact centers, is trying to stay ahead of the curve from technology-wise so that, my customers would have a great experience. My agents would have a great experience. So if you think about it, and again, I'm going to be a little unconventional here. I've got the kind of the energy of a teenage squirrel. And I do really enjoy this topic and I'm quite enthused about it. So I'm not going to be as conventional as maybe some of the other guys you've seen on some of these webinars and live streams. I'll be bouncing all over the place, topic hopping, but I'll try to stay focused on my 10 minutes here. But it has much to do with emotion. Think about it. Oh my God, I've got the issue with COVID, but now I got to get people working from home, and I'm all stressed out, and I'm on the calls every day and video chats, and I gotta get the agent going and all these problems and how am I gonna the digital transformation? What happened to that project we were working on? And so we're all kind of caught up in this storm of chaos, so to speak. But out of chaos comes order. So what are some of the liabilities as they relate to this new COVID-19 era that we'll all remember and tell our grandchildren about, how we had to migrate to the cloud and it was a snowy day and all that mess. But the issue here is that you're going to be potentially incapable of having a suitable setup for your agents. You're going to have a situation where the cloud is forcing you to close your offices. I mean, it's just a matter of time before the CFO comes up to you and says, "Hey, Bob, why are we paying for all this money for furniture and chairs and rooms and all these other things when we can just have everybody work from home and send them, $500 to hook themselves up with some cool tech." And then the IT guy, you're sitting there, or your CTO or your call center director, you're like, "Yeah, but it's not that easy, CFO." But they're going to come knocking because there's a huge sunk cost in facilities. And that's going to be something that they're going to be telling you, look, the benefit of not setting up the office outweighs the benefit of having it there. You're not going to be able to handle the spikes in call volume fast enough because of the load that's coming onto your agents when you're trying to use chicken wire, duct tape, and toothpaste to glue everything together to make sure that they're getting these calls. And you're not going to be able to deploy the random need for customers to be able to contact you through any channel fast enough. So here's another little factoid. 50% of all the contact centers out there are projected to go to CCaaS in the next 2 years. So think about that. I don't know how to do the math, but think about all the contact centers on the planet. 50% of them are going to be going to the cloud by 2022. So this is like a mad race to contact centers in the cloud. And so, how do you not get trampled? As everybody's running towards this reality, because it is the most efficient, it is the most effective way of servicing your customers. And what am I really up against? What is going on here? Is it not? It's not just the budget. It's not the manpower. It's not just culturally or interpersonally. How am I going to talk to people in the different departments to make sure that I'm doing the right thing with getting this going? And is it the IT project? Is this the business outcome project of the contact center director? Who owns this? And oh my God, do I have to demonstrate an ROI on something that's actually going to have to happen? Move the stakeholders in the executive suite, and then think about the agents. I used to be an agent, and it's kind of like this really weird juxtaposed situation you're in as an agent. You're just like, you can't stand the system that you're working on. You're always complaining about it, like, oh God, I wish management would upgrade these systems. But then as soon as the new system comes into play, as an agent, you're just like, oh my God, I wish we could do it always like the way we used to do it. And they're always complaining about these things. But the reality is that, times are changing and our work has to change. And for some reason, us contact center people, we're just like waiting, like we're trying to wait till the wheels fall off our systems, before CFO comes in and says, "Hey, Bob, here's your, and I don't know why it's always Bob, but hey, here's your $500,000, your $1 million to get going on this project." So you have to ask these questions. What will it cost? What about compliance? How do we sell this to my stakeholders? What about the agent experience? What will the impact be to the customer experience? And how do I measure it? And how do I scale? So these are some of the questions you need to think about when you're looking at the reasons to do this and finding the answers for those reasons. And what about departments that you're thinking about actually talking to? The finance department's going to be impacted, IT, ops development or development ops, security, the engineering group, marketing and sales. I mean, the entire company is going to be affected. If you think about it, 80% of all contacts that come into your business come through your contact center. So an average customer might call in 3 times a year. That's the stat. An average contact is about 7 minutes long. So you have 21 minutes to make sure that those 3 contacts on average are working correctly and in a manner that you're not creating a brand toxic situation and creating a situation actually where the customer is like, you know what, I can go somewhere else. Within the reality of migrating to the cloud as well as being on the cloud. So there's a lot to think about, and you need to actually consider these things and be sure that you have the right answers for those. So here are some things to kind of think about as you're going through this challenge, because it's as much about change management and communication and addressing emotional issues with your agents as it is actually the technical ones of moving over to the cloud. But remember, 50% by 2022. I mean, that's going to be like that. I mean, 2018, that was like 2 weeks ago? So, I mean, just kind of put that in perspective. So you got to get moving. You got to get going here. So let's think about the folks that are impacted and what are some of the things and thoughts that probably popping through their head. So you got a situation where you've got I'm a contact center leader with and I'm also the CIO and I'm responsible for the contact center, but we just bought all this on-prem stuff, and I just got everybody certified, and oh my God, all this sunk costs. What are we doing? How can we, I just want to stay with what I have. But folks, it's party is over. We're going to the cloud, and you have to emotionally, release yourself of that, let go, purge, and move on to basically, again, where the rest of the planet is going, to the cloud. And going to the cloud, if you're, again, don't be afraid of the cloud, because going to the cloud is going to give you a competitive advantage for all the reasons that we're going to be talking about in future episodes. And think about this, folks. It's not going to be an all or nothing type of situation. It's not going to be like, oh, we did it wrong, we have to do it. It's a redo. But if you do think about it, going to the cloud, you can actually just turn that sucker off and turn it back on with a reconfiguration. Much easier than you can flip-floppity around with an on-prem situation. Platform administrators. Oh, hey, I just got my certification, and I've done Avaya and I've done nice systems, and I've done other, as we've kind of all thought in the past. And these guys have cloud offers as well. That they've learned these systems, and they've mastered them over 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, and they're thinking like, oh my God, I just can't, I don't want to, why are we changing, da-da-da. But the reality is the future is coming. The future is coming at us like a train. And that train says, I'm looking at your CV, as we say here in London, or I'm looking at your resume. And your resume, this is how you sell it to the platform administrators. Your resume needs to show that you've got some cloud experience, that you've gone through a cloud migration, that you've worked out all the bugs of a cloud and understand not only the people, process, and technology bits, but you've actually successfully done it. And here are the KPIs and success criteria that you are using to demonstrate that. So do you want that on your CV? Do you want that on your resume? Of course they do, especially those young guys, the guys in their 20s and 30s, gals, they're full of all that, that early career hormones of trying to prove it to the world. Tap into that. Then finally, the contact center agents and supervisors, these guys will make or break you. But most cloud applications, typically run in only in a few screens, up to one screen and a few screens, and the upgrades that happen automatically are transparent to them. So at the end of the day, they're actually going to be working with something that's a lot better than what they've been used to. So using communication, using a proper consulting and success management, and the entire process of moving from where you are to where you're going, it means involving these folks and getting them enrolled and understanding that this is actually going to benefit them. This is actually going to make their job easier, and it's going to allow them to have a better experience, agent experience, so that they can provide the customer better agent experience. So poor communications is not going to happen in this area. It has to be proper communication strategy, and you can't alienate these folks on the front line with hey, here's an announcement from the guys in the corner office. We're going on a new system next week. Just reboot your laptop. And so it has to be very proactive and involved. And these are the types of things that you want to make sure that the provider is addressing as you're working with them. So I probably ran out of time, and I'll probably spit all over the camera because I'm talking so fast, but I do apologize. But let me talk about what's going on in the future here. So I will be live streaming every week, and some of the upcoming shows that we'll be having, the format will be, I'll have a topic, and then I'll talk a little bit about some things to think about, some questions to ask yourself, and some things that you might want to act on so that you can actually be a little bit more successful in these random things. And again, the kind of the general perspective is that I've seen both sides of the table. I've ran contact centers. I've been challenged by a very big P&L that I had to reduce by 10% every year and increase the volume of contacts I'm supporting by every 10 years. By 10% every year. So I know I've been on your side of the table. I've done it. I've been under the pressure. I've been kicked out of the office and said, go figure it out, and been very successful at it. And then on the flip side, having been here now in the UK and doing global consulting on this, I'm pretty good at advising people how to drive that F1 car that I used to drive way back in the day. So future episodes. Next one's going to be can't be proud of half a cloud. So if you're trying to think you're going to jerry-rig this thing, it ain't happening. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. I might have a guest speaker, Andy the Cloud Bird, or Andy Bird, our head of product development. He's always very good at providing an agnostic view of things. So I'll see if I can see if he can join us for all of 2 minutes to stick his head in. Then for the USA Thanksgiving special, only turkeys send their agents home back to the office to work. A little play on words there. And then for us folks here in the UK and some of Europe, it's going to be the end of COVID lockdown special. So with the same thing being, folks don't want to go into the office, right? I think, some folks do. They do. There are percentages out there that want to do that. And I think there's a good balance that you can find in order to keep your folks happy and keep them in place with your company, because you don't want to lose that human capital, that intellectual capital that happens when people trit and move to other businesses. And then on Wednesday, December 2nd, it'll be turn on that damn camera, please. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how video plays into the contact center and all the things that are, it's not about, the art of the possible. It's about the art of doing the possible. So I'm excited about that one. And then we've got a really clever one that's coming up here. I was excited about the first one, but I'm really excited about this one. In fact, I'm excited about all these things. And that's that omni-channel versus inter-channel. Yes, inter-channel. I didn't say international. I said inter-channel. Okay, you heard it here first. Inter-channel. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And then wrap it up before Christmas or the holidays with a holiday special. AI and video have a baby. And it's, a match made in contact center heaven. So I'm talking a little bit about how video and AI can work together to improve your customer experience, your agent experience, and reduce your cost to serve. Yes, I'll be talking about money as well, guys. So I think that's it. I think I'm out of time. I think I actually went to 15 minutes, but I'm really excited about you guys participating. Please comment, put some, words on there, throw some tomatoes at me, a couple stars, whatever you want, and including ideas for topics. Because I think that this is a forum for you guys to pick my brain, tell me to wipe the sweat off my forehead, and anything else that you want to do. And I look forward with working with you guys, sharing ideas. And if you'd like to be a guest speaker on one of these little shows, just shoot me a note as well, because I'd like to have somebody on here talking with me, collaborating with me. And then I'm looking forward to a nice debate. I like to debate. My Myers-Briggs is an ENTP, so I'm always up for a good debate, guys. And so if you want to come on board and debate with me, that's cool too. So thanks, guys. I look forward to seeing you next week. Seeing you guys next week. And until then, life size your life. Bye-bye.